March 31st, St. Charles County Council meeting. We will begin tonight with a moment of silence, and then I will lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. If you would stand and remove your caps and bow your heads. Thank you. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilman Swanson.
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel.
Here.
Councilman Hammond.
Here.
Councilman Elam.
Here.
Councilman Hollander.
Here.
Councilwoman York. Here. Councilman Baker.
Here.
That brings us to public comment. Normally we do 3 for, 3 against, as I told you earlier. But Mr. Swanson has requested that we have 6 speakers speak tonight. Does the council agree?
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Anyone disagree? So we'll allow 6 speakers tonight.
You mean 6 pro and 6?
Correct. Correct. As opposed to amending the rules of 3 and 3. So we'll go with that. There is a 3-minute clock that will show up right there where it says 7:01 next to Mr. Swanson. When the alarm happens, then I'll thank you for your time and ask you to have a seat and the next speaker come up. So our first speaker tonight is
Scott Dyer.
I go ahead and start.
yes, sir.
All right. Well, I did have a speech prior to the table. I'm not going to be using that speech because it's irrelevant. I'm asking everybody behind me to be respectful. I just want everybody to be respectful, to say the least. I don't think it's going to get us anywhere if we're going to be argumentative with the council. That's just my opinion. As far as the development itself, I'm opposed to it 110%. I own a business in town, real estate company. My dad's a farmer in the community for generations. I live right amongst Riverdale. I feel like we've done everything in our power as far as a petition, P&Z voting this down, everything along those lines. And I don't think I need to say a whole lot, to be honest. I mean, I want to save it for the next one. If it's going to be tabled, I think it's disheartening that it's tabled. I don't quite understand it, to be honest. I wish you guys could hopefully explain that, because who gets to table it and who gets to decide it gets tabled is a little uneasy for me right now. I don't quite understand that. I think everybody behind me doesn't understand that as well. I think the area calls for 1-acre lots, 3-acre lots, and 5-acre lots. Riverdale's already there. There's 2,100 water taps. Tom Hughes has 1,050 of them. 800 and something of them have been used already. That's the nucleus of Riverdale. Aesthetically, if we keep growing the way we're growing, there is no infrastructure. You guys already know that. Affordable housing, the water taps outside of the city of St. Paul, they have to pay for their water bill twice because they're not in the city of St. Paul. I don't know if everybody's aware of that or not. If you're in the city of St. Paul, it's one bill. Outside of the city of St. Paul, it's 2 bills. So when we're talking about affordable housing, think about that. We're going to try and put affordable housing in this where you know there's already affordable housing. The Riverdale's very affordable, and I want you guys to consider that as well. I like to end with I'll be back. I think everybody behind me is going to be back. I hope everybody keeps their composure. I think there's a lot of animosity and a lot of people feel different ways, but we're going to come back. And I hope you guys consider that, and I hope you guys vote with the people and vote this thing down no, or either tell Hughes to do 1-acre lots, 3 acres, or 5, because that's what the city requires and that's what the county requires. Simple as that.
Neil McNeil. Jessica Cook.
Raising 3 children in the suburbs, my husband and I longed for a home with land, as each year more and more concrete kept creeping in around us in our community. First houses, then apartments, then strip malls, having to drive to go find open spaces even to enjoy trees. So I have seen the beginning stages of what's going to happen here. We purchased our land in St. Paul, and for 2 years before any house plans were made, we got to know our land. We redid the old cattle pond, planted a hayfield, a horse pasture, learned the way that the water naturally flows, the wind blows, even discovered old pieces of equipment and tools buried in honeysuckle that told the stories of the generations before us that owned the land. During this time, we have met so many wonderful neighbors that welcomed us with open arms. It's clear they love the land and community just the way the generations before them did. They have guided us on our small farm journey and root us on while we soak up their knowledge, as they have clearly done it right for so many years. Anyone can see this as they drive through the city of St. Paul. For me and my family, it's very important that we honor the land we call home now, the same way it has been for generations. So I'm here to say that as someone who is an outsider to new to St. Paul, my family was welcomed with warmth and farm fresh eggs the day we moved in. Our neighbors might be down gravel roads tucked away, but the community is stronger and compassionate than any HOA I've ever belonged to. So high-density housing is not honoring the land, and it does not make sense in this community. It is not that the people of St. Paul don't welcome new people or change. It's they can see what happens when concrete starts approaching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Holton. Paul.
County Executive, members of council, first and foremost, thank you for what you do. Time you give to the citizens of St. Charles County, to us as residents, means something. I know it goes without saying that we're appreciative. I personally know this because I spent 14 years in public service in law enforcement, both on the military side and the civilian side. Served my last several years here for the city, for St. Charles County. I left honorably almost 4 years ago, starting a business in the city limits of St. Paul. So I'm going to bring a different perspective to the table here. Something that's been brought to my attention that it's kept secret almost from the residents about the manpower issues around St. Paul. Staffing for the St. Charles County Police Department has not increased. There's one 456 car that covers from Highway 79 all the way up 70, all the way down Highway 61 to Indian Camp Creek, all the way over to Old Monroe, all the way up 79, all the way back to the police department pretty much. That's one officer. There's a 3-4 car every day. That is that backing officer's car. That car covers all the way from the 79 in St. Charles County all the way up, can be in Harvester if the 3 cars need an extra officer. I personally have been on calls in the city limits of St. Paul and waited 15 minutes for a backing officer to arrive. One of which times I was on Hoff Road fighting for my life against a guy on the road. The first 2 cars that showed up to back me up were O'Fallon police officers. I was told at the Planning and Zoning Committee that what makes growth happen is more residents. You can't do that when it comes to public safety. If you're going to put more homes in an area that the public safety is not there, the public safety has to be there first. If we're not willing as a county to spend that money first before we put more homes, it's an issue. I personally can attest to this not only on the law enforcement side, but on the ambulance side. We had to call an ambulance for my father-in-law here about a month and a half ago. That ambulance comes from Highway P and Main Street. I live at Growlinghoff Lane, which is right off St. Paul Road. It took that ambulance 20 minutes to get there at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm 10 minutes closer to that ambulance base than what Riverdale is. You're putting people's lives at the line. You're putting people's health in jeopardy by passing this before the infrastructure for public safety is there first. I could care less about the roads. I could care less about the schools. But when you put people's lives on the line, it means something to me. And I hope that that comes in consideration when you guys think about voting on this development. Thank you.
Ray Weatherow. Ray.
Good evening, council. I'm thankful that I'm able to speak before you tonight because in 2 weeks, unfortunately, I'll be in Gulf Shores enjoying a vacation with my wife. So, to speak plainly about development, we understand, and from various points in my background, without going into too much detail, development takes a lot of planning. And what I've seen out of these plans to go before this council, as well as with planning and zoning, this does not fit well with what's already built within the community. Aside from the street issues that we already had, with Dyer Road only being literally, it just got stripes this year. We're talking about 79 already having congestion that's going well beyond the pale. And with no sight of whether or not that's going to be developed any further, adding all this extra housing right now it's just premature, would be a very good term to use. Now, while I appreciate the idea of the dollars that are being flown around in order to hold on to this property, in order to develop it properly, I understand that. The zoning issue that is brought before us, talking about you can't have 1 acre, or you got to have 1 acre, 3 acre, or 5 acre lots, should be taken into consideration whenever we're dealing with something as tight as how the traffic already is to begin with. So I ask the council, and with my gratitude, please consider this. This area is not ready for this kind of a development. Lack of commercial and everybody having to drive down 79 to begin with, but I digress, and I want to keep it short. So thank you very much. I do oppose this, and I look forward to hearing your results.
Josh Sikowski.
Thanks, everybody. So I think everyone's a little flustered, and the reason being, Mr. Hughes has played these games before. He's played games with the number of houses per acre he wants to build, which we've talked about ad nauseum. He's played games with removing and resubmitting existing applications to undermine the signature collection, of which one I drove. He's now playing games with tabling an application 1 hour before your final vote this evening, after everyone here drove in, right? So the frustration is not directed at this council, it's primarily directed at the applicant. We know the intention here of the applicant is to undermine the grassroots movement to stop this development via signatures, organization, etc. This cannot be misconstrued as anything other than a cooling off period. That's the intention, is a cooling off period. With respect, my primary ask at this point, considering what's happened so far this evening, is that the folks behind me, as well as myself, have ample knowledge of when this is meant to get brought up to a vote. We should know in more than just 3 days' time, when's it going to be voted on, right? I don't know what the rules look like. I've heard that we only have to be notified up to 3 days prior to the vote. I don't know if that's the case, correct me if I'm wrong. But if that is, it's not fair to the folks behind me who've put a lot of hours and a lot of time into making sure that our voice has been heard. I've heard that this table can go for as long as 6 months. 6 months that he can cooperate with you all until he retables it, puts it back on the table for a vote. That's fine, right? But as long as we have a thorough, clear understanding of when the vote's going to take place, I think we're owed at least that, respectfully. So with that, I yield my time. Thank you.
Tony Shepard. Tony? Yes, ma'am. Shepard?
Good afternoon, evening, whatever time zone they have us in now. Ladies, gentlemen, Tony Shepard. I got in trouble before. This is Giblet. Some folks yelled at me. You did introduce my bodyguard. Been living out there on Highway P. Wife's born and raised right there in St. Paul, Linda MG. Yeah, I married into the MGs, I'm sorry. Life experience right there. Great people. We understand for many, many years the infrastructure, the traffic, the travel, the realtors and developers telling you one thing, MoDOT telling you the other, traffic on top of the other. It's a nightmare. Just real quick, go over it. We like development. Been there a long time. I've got the one house on the highway, got another farm up in there. It's great. I would like to have more people come out and appreciate the country living out here. You know, we hear gunshots out here instead of the city. We got dove and deer. I'm not going to go into the city. 3 to 4 houses an acre. That's just packing people on top of people. You might as well get a yard service with a weed eater, because there's nothing there. Where are we going to play if children even get outside anymore? A lot size on there. Larger sizes, please. Let's build it smart. Let's build. I know houses are going, you can list it one day, gone the next. Neighbor sadly passed away. They put her house on the market Saturday. It was gone Sunday. That quick. Several folks are that quick. So yes, housing is needed, but let's do it right. The fun thing we're always fighting with, kind of rolls a little bit to you guys up here, planning and zoning and MoDOT. Whenever you put in a housing development, they always tell you, yeah, we're going to have a left turn lane over here, and we'll have a center lane here to turn in, and we'll have a through lane. They just got done with a really nice one, congestion on Highway 79 if you're ever out that way, where T.R. Hughes and 79 is. They've got your through lane, they got a signal up there. They plan on kicking 79 4 lanes. Good luck win. Right now, if you go down there coming in or going home, you might as well pack a lunch. You're going to be there a while. Safety aspect, there's many people that are still dying out there, and it's not just from deer kill. You'll have 5 folks that pass away, but they call that one accident. There's a lot of traffic problems out there. Some of it's us, some of it's me, but a lot of times it's just congested traffic. That's all I got. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you being here. Thank you for being up in here. And it's all good. I'm used to doing legislation up there in Jeff City, and the tabling, folks, it happens. We understand. Thank you for being here.
Mary Chapman regarding chemtrails.
This is going to be a change of subject. I apologize for that. People drove all this way for their subject. So this is a follow-up discovery on aerosol atmospheric injections, or chemtrails for short. How will St. Charles County effectively move forward to stop the atrocities that are happening in St. Charles County? I used to be one of those people that would laugh when somebody would say something about chemtrails, but then I started noticing above my house almost every day. It's really sad. There are several states that have introduced or have passed bills to stop the aerosol injections into our skies. We have Florida SB 65, which passed, Tennessee SB 2691, and the House Bill 2063, which have passed. Kentucky, introduced and passed. Minnesota, introduced. South Dakota, passed. New Hampshire, introduced. House Bill 1700, which was dead. But what I found was interesting is the wording in New Hampshire's bill, which read, polluting emissions including cloud seeding, weather modification, excessive electromagnetic radio frequencies, and microwave radiation. Which brings me to my discussion on NexRad towers. Now, NexRad towers stand for Next Generation Radar. I don't know if anybody in this room is familiar with that, but basically what it comprises it's for radar, for tracking weather, which is comprised of 159 high-resolution S-band Doppler weather radars, which means nothing to me, but that's what I got out of Wikipedia. It's said to be used for the purpose of collecting data above the atmosphere. It does this by bouncing a microwave signal off of a desired target. This was definition that I did get from from Wikipedia on Doppler radar. Doppler radar pulses have an average transmitting power of about 450,000 watts. A microwave from the home will generate about 1,000 watts of energy. Chemtrails or atmospheric injections are spraying aerosol and liquid metals and particles, like aluminum, barium, and graphene particles. Considering what happens when you put metal into a microwave and turn it on, it's a reaction. These metals that are in the air will react to these pulses that the Doppler radar is putting out.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your time.
I'm done?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, darn. I've got a little bit more. Okay.
Arnie Dienoff regarding consent items.
Careful now.
Don't fall down. Thank you very much, members of the County Council. My name is Arnie C. A.C. Dienoff, County Public Advocate. First of all, I'd like to take a minute, and the next meeting I'd like to recognize some personnel at our County Communications Center and the City of St. Charles 911 Dispatch Public Safety Center, known as a PSAP. On March 19th in this room at the Planning and Zoning Commission, there was smoke and we had an electrical fire right above us in the ceiling. And so an outstanding job by our County Sheriff's Department, St. Charles City Police, St. Charles City Fire Department, Central County Fire Protection District, other assisting agencies. It was a full first alarm response, and the dispatchers did an outstanding job. So I'm glad. For some reason, I don't see where we have fire alarms. I've looked, and I don't know exactly where they're at. So if somebody from staff can educate myself and other people to where the fire alarms, we had Miss Lycum that was in the office, had no idea what was going on until Robert Myers and the county counselor tried to gain access to make sure that she could evacuate. There were people on the second floor, and so I'd like to know where that is the next time. When it comes to buying vehicles, we keep buying vehicles in St. Louis County and St. Louis City. $295,000 to Lou Fuse in St. Louis County. Don Brown Chevrolet, $82,000, $74,000, $238,000 in Don Brown in St. Louis City. Let's drive our own economy here. West Complete subscription, $153,000, and another subscription for $136,000. Can we get the information somewhere else for the research rather than a sole source? It's really concerning, so somebody can take that off the consent agenda. The records destruction for elections, I'm making a chapter 610.021, 610.022 public information request for records destruction of the elections. I think we have a right to see those documents before you rip and shred them. The same for the destruction request for community development. And finally, a report request under Chapter 610.021 and .022 are $225,000 lobbyists, Tom Dempsey and Mike Gibbons, still have not seen the reports and what our return on investment is. You have an intent for $16 million in new radios, and so I want to know exactly how you're going to pay for those. And I want to make sure that when our police personnel fall down to the ground in a fight, that a tone goes out to the dispatcher to say that they're in need of aid and their location, GPS location. The firefighters have it, but not the police officers. I ask you to defeat Bill 5369. We need to have smart growth. And finally, Bill 5375, the budget for community development and highway department. Is it fair to our other county employees? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jim Kozlowski regarding record destruction request.
The fire alarm's that red box right across the hall there. Mr. Dienhoff.
Show me after the meeting, please. I would appreciate it.
Kind of hard to miss.
Good evening, council members. Jim Kozlowski about the request for record destructions from the elections office. A lot of reasons why I'd like to keep those records around. I'll just give you two. Some of us spoke with some St. Charles County residents who have been recorded in the Secretary of State's records that they voted in a previous election. However, they said that they did not. I specifically spoke with one couple in their 80s. We dug into that a little bit. Supposedly they requested a absentee ballot in 2020. The signature used for that absentee ballot request matched identically the signature on their registration card that was 56 years earlier. That's physically impossible to have two signatures identical. I saw these with my eyes to the pixel. I'd like to see the envelope where that ballot was sent. It would be very interesting. It wasn't sent to them because they didn't vote. So that's one reason that I'd like to keep this data. It's not just the ballots, blank ballots. We're talking about used ballots. We're talking about envelopes, I presume. We're probably also talking about the little thumb or flash drives that are used to transfer the data from the tabulators that we all are exposed to when they scan our ballots. That data gets transferred via thumb drive to a little laptop in a director's office after the election. Those devices are supposed to be stored also per federal law. The piece of paper I gave you lists one of the requirements in federal code that speaks to or refers to a permanent paper record. There's other ones that says it's not just the paper ballots, it's also everything else that's associated. The second item, in 2018, the Secretary of State signed an agreement with a third party, one of these public-private companies, to install a Albert sensor in the network. There's probably one here in St. Charles County. I don't have official confirmation of that, but apparently they're in most of the 3,000 plus counties across the United States. It monitors network traffic on the line. It would be very interesting to see the election data before the installation of that device and after it. If we got one here in St. Charles County, it was probably implemented in 19, but surely by 2020. There's a lot of people who've looked deeply into these Albert sensors. They're just ripe for bad things to happen electronically with the system. And I'll end this on this little riddle me this type of question. If our election equipment is not connected to the internet in any way, why do we need these devices to protect our electronic or our election systems? If the tabulators and the election management server are not connected to the internet, there's no way for any bad guy to inject malware or to cause any type of problems, right? There's something very fishy going on there.
Teresa, regarding voter records destruction.
Hello, I'm Teresa Linsnick, and I'm a St. Charles resident. And I'm really concerned also about the destruction of election records. I thought we covered this last meeting, but maybe there's something I'm missing. You know, the 2016 election, many Democrats thought that our elections were not true. And the 2020, a lot of Republicans thought it wasn't true. So we both agree, Democrats and Republicans, and I'm sure independents agree that our elections are not safe and they're not true. And I think, you know, just like the police department, they try to get all the evidence. And I believe that's what we need. I believe we need hand counting instead of, instead of machines. The 1970s, they hand counted. And so I just really, I want to propose something. Why not, if we can, do 10 years before, or keep the records from 10 years prior to 2020 and 10 years after, and just don't get rid of evidence. You know, we need to prove that actually the elections are true. And so why not keep the evidence? So thank you.
That was the final speaker.
So that'll wrap up public comments. Mr. Swanson.
Yeah, I'd like a motion to amend the agenda, moving Bill 5369, dealing with the development off Dyer Road, up to after the oral report from the county executive.
Second.
How about if we do it now, since he's going to have a report
Okay,
with
that's fine,
Christine
to
for
move it up
facilities.
right after public comments.
So we'll move it up now.
Second that motion.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved. So we were up to bill number 5369.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to amend Bill 5369 with substitute Bill 5369.
Second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Just so everybody's aware, what that is adding the remonstrance onto the bill. So you formally know that the remonstrance that you got done is now formally on the amended bill.
Yeah.
With that, Mr. Baker.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we table at the applicant's request, Bill 5369, to give them opportunity to work with us on the plan.
I'll second that. Opportunity to discuss tabling.
Motion made and second. Mr. Brazel.
I'd like to know, where did this conversation come on tabling this bill? Who started it? Where did it come from?
Came this afternoon.
Okay, so who all got the emails on it?
I don't know that there was
Raise your hand if you
emails.
got an email on it. Or put it this way, who did not get an email on any conversation between the Time Hughes Development and the county council? None of you guys did?
I didn't get an email, no.
Get an email about
Or a
tabling the
conversation
bill?
or whatever.
No, I didn't get an email about tabling a bill.
I mean, there's no conversation, and these folks drive all the way from St. Paul, and this is nothing but a practice to just wear these guys out, to go and go and go, because this development is...
Joe, this happened an hour before the meeting. What exactly were we supposed to do?
Well, the question is why are we tabling it? Because someone said they're going to, if he changes the plan, Rory, are you done on your phone? If he changes the plan, then we don't have to wait a year, correct? I mean, the way I understand it is if you vote no for a bill, it can't come back for a year.
Our
Is that correct?
ordinance says that the exact same, the identical zoning map change request cannot be submitted within 1 year.
Correct. So if he changes the lot sizes, then he can come back when he wants, right?
It's my understanding that that
Okay,
part of the
so I was
ordinance would
told that
not
it's
bar
being
him from coming
tabled because
back.
he's amending some of the plots. He's making it different. So if we voted it down tonight, it has nothing to do with if he wants to change the sizes of the lots, because the problem is they're just too small and they're cramming all this stuff into this community that doesn't deserve it. And they've been sold out once. They don't need to be sold out again. And for these folks to have to keep coming back and forth, I've been on this council a long time. This is nothing more than a tactic. It needs to be voted down because it's the wrong subdivision for the wrong place, and they're wearing out these people. And here's the other thing, is Matt's the councilman in this district. How come no one asked him about tabling the bill? And the other thing is me and Matt hasn't been part of any of these communications. And the way it's always worked in our council for years and years, the zoning in the county, in the person's district is the most part of what a councilman's job is having it grow the way the community wants it to grow based on what their expectations are. And this is not our expectation. So if Matt, who was elected by these people out here, is saying, this is not a good plan, we need to go to either 1 acre, which I don't even agree with that, but 3 or 5, then that's what they should do. They elected him. They didn't elect you guys. And so all I'm saying, no, Dave, all I'm saying is this is total crap, okay? I mean, it's just crap.
How is this different than Tall Tree? We tabled that, the applicant revised the plan.
Not an hour before the meeting, Tim.
Hang on.
I mean, come on, this is crap and you know it. I mean, if he's gonna revise it, then let him just vote this down, because we all think it's a bad plan if you have any common sense. And so you vote it down and let him revise his plan.
All right.
Simple as that.
Mr. Hammond.
Well, Joe, we've always, an applicant wants to table the bill, we've always allowed that. He may not even come back here with a plan. This may die on the table. It's happened before.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
May I say something?
By all means.
First of all, let's take the advice of the first speaker we had at the podium here and settle down and just talk about this intelligently. I think the points that Mr. Brazel has made would be legitimate points if it weren't for the fact that, I don't know about you, but I found out that the remonstrance was good just today. And I think the lawyers didn't really know for sure until Friday. So the fact is, the remonstrance meant you needed 5 votes instead of 4. So it's a different situation, which, in this particular situation, I think it's certainly not some injustice for you to table it. It's up to you whether you do or not.
We had a remonstrance
Well,
on
yeah, I was
Thursday.
going to say. I do-
So, Mr. Swanson.
Yeah, we received that email that it required the supermajority vote. I do believe, and she's checking, I think, right now, on Thursday of last week.
Okay.
Because in the agenda packet, we had the amended or substitute bill and everything else. Now with this, and I've talked to all of you guys, and I think Joe and I are frustrated because we asked the people to do what's required, and they've done absolutely everything. They've contacted the individuals. They've worked with the builder. Everything's been done. They got the petitions. They got the signatures to get the supermajority. What else are we supposed to do? I mean, we talk about civic engagement. They're driving 30 minutes to get here, and I find out an hour and a half before the meeting that it's tabled. And I'm the one who's supposed to be representing these people. It's very, very frustrating. When I called Scott and Mike as soon as I found out, it seems wrong. And I think it was Josh said this, he's doing a cooling off period. He wants to make sure you guys go on vacation when it gets brought back up, and there's not going to be a crowd here. I don't think this is right. And the tall trees, if we want to go down that road, we can. But remember, that was voted down initially, if I'm not.
That was voted down.
And then it came back. And the builder, and we had a different issue. There was a municipality that wanted to annex this area. And we talked at length about stopping the annexation down into our rural areas. St. Paul doesn't want this. These are small lots at the highest zoning imaginable, R1E. It's wrong for the area, plain and simple. It's wrong. And I just don't understand why we just keep kicking this down. And I understand he wants to make money. And I know when I talked to Scott earlier, we're not opposed to development up there. We know it's coming, but it needs to be the right development. And R1E is just wrong. It just is. And I think it's really that black and white.
All right, Mr.
Just to clarify, the builder cannot table a bill. He can only request that we table the bill. So I've heard that, about 3 or 4 times now that he is tabling it. He really isn't, okay? He's asking us, requesting this council to table it, okay? Now, those are 2 different things. Okay, so that's just to clarify that
Can
point.
we ask who he contacted?
Well, I know he talked to administration earlier. He called me earlier this afternoon around 4:45, and as soon as I found out, I reached out to Mr. Swanson, and I told Mr. Swanson, and I called Mike, and I told Mike about it, and he called Scott, because we were trying to get the word out as soon as we found out. So as soon as I knew, Matt knew, and we started calling people to let them know. It's not a back and forth, man. We've done public comment, so.
Can I ask a question? Does anybody know what the plan, if he's tabling it, can we ask why?
He asked for time to work on it. Now, I don't know what that means, but work on it. I know he wants to talk with Mike to try and work out something with him, and I don't know if he's going to amend lot sizes or any of that.
Even if he works it out with Mike, that doesn't mean that I'm still not supporting it.
Joe, you can vote against it.
But here's
It's
my
a,
point.
it's a
No, here's the
tabling.
problem, Mike. If the zoning is what it is, and we don't like it, and we vote it down tonight, he can change the lot sizes and come back anytime. It's not a year wait because he's changing the plots.
He can't. You're exactly
So
right.
why are we wasting everyone's time?
You're allowed to vote no. I would call the question at this point, and I would ask all those in favor of tabling the bill, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Bill's tabled. And with that, we're moving on to,
Which bill is tabled? You didn't
We had
accept
the-
this, you need to accept
My
the
bad.
substitute, yeah.
He got me sidetracked on
I
our
know.
normal
We-
proposal.
we should
All
probably
right,
read
so,
the bill and
all those in favor in accepting the amended Bill 5369, please say aye.
Aye. Let's read it.
Sorry, I thought you already did.
Substitute Bill number 5369. An ordinance amending the zoning district map of the County of St. Charles, Missouri by rezoning land from A Agricultural District to R1E Single Family Residential District per application RZ 25-01.
Councilman Swanson,
Yes.
Councilman Brazel,
What are we voting?
This is
On the amended, accepting the amended bill.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, this is for this.
Councilman Hammond,
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilwoman York.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
So now we have accepted amended Bill 5369, which adds the remonstrance onto the bill. I know you're confused, so am I. When he started down that road, I completely got flustered, so I think we're all on the same page now. So, Bill number 5369, amended Bill 5369, has been accepted. So now, Tim, would you please make your motion again?
I make a motion to table amended bill number 5369.
Second.
Have a motion made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
So the bill is tabled. So we will do our best to get word out to everybody before we vote on this. We don't gain by you being surprised either, right? So blindsiding you doesn't help any of us. So we're going to do our best to get the word out as soon as we know.
Yeah, we know where you all stand, so.
Can I mention something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so what this also allows the applicant to do is go back to the seller, Mr. McMenamy. I mean, you know, everyone's pointing out that Mr. Hughes is so terrible for doing this, but Mr. McMenamy owns the land and he wants to sell it for the most he can. So this also allows the conversation of, hey, you know, your price isn't gonna work with what I'm looking at, so, we'll see what he does.
It's not our job. So all we did was allow more time. At that,
Point of order.
At that,
One more thing. Can I? Okay, I'd just like to point out, talking about timing, anytime a bill can be brought up off the table, okay, we would definitely allow you folks to know as soon as we know that it's coming off the table. Now, that could be as little as 3 days, or it could be as much as 2 weeks. So that's kind of the parameters that we're looking at, correct?
correct. All right. So with that, back to our regularly scheduled program and oral report from the county executive.
Christine is going to make a report on facilities. For those who care enough about facilities, stick around.
So, Mr. Chairman, I would just point out to your fellow council members, this is the first of your requested department reports. So you had suggested we start with facilities since it's a fairly robust department. And you also requested that we keep it short, so she will keep it to 10 minutes or less.
It's all good. You can wait until everybody clears out. We're all good.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah. It's right, yeah, it's right over there across the hall.
It's right there on the wall. That's where it's at.
I should make a motion to consider.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you very much for doing this. So just so everybody's aware, one of the things I wanted to accomplish this year as chair is to try to get a little more information to the council about what's going on at the different departments around the county. There's a lot going on, and emails fly, and a lot of times we assume that once an email gets sent, everybody reads it and they remember everything that's going on. And a lot of times we all get busy, you skip emails, you don't hear everything, or you may have some specific questions about something that's going on. So facilities seems to be, at least it was when we were doing budget, a hot topic of things going on. So sorry for you, but you were top of mind when I made the request. So
Thanks.
we're going to start with facilities, but we're going to try to do, for lack of a better term, a parade of department heads through county, just so council can get a little more engaged with what's going on, a little more informed. From a department head standpoint, the positive for you, I think, is when you bring something forward to the council, we're a little more informed about what's going on in your department, and we know more about what's going on. So it should be, in a perfect world, in theory, easier for you to get the things done that you want to get done because council's already aware of what's going on. So with all that, I will yield the floor to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So being the guinea pig, I guess this will also give an opportunity of what to do right and what to do wrong on this presentation. So, so basically, I'm just going to there's three basic highlights. As far as facilities management is concerned, no, we don't manage every single facility in the county. We manage about 17. Parks manages their facilities, Highway does theirs, Family Arenas is owning their own. So we kind of do the big other buildings. We also oversee major renovation projects or upgrades, and that can be for other departments. We've got a project with Parks going right now. We've worked within other people's budgets, help them out to make sure that we've got the right manpower to help execute these projects. But we also, beyond just the regular maintenance, we have 75 current projects going on right now. So I'm not going to go through all of them, thankfully. That'll take too long. So I'm just going to kind of touch on a few highlights about what it is that we're doing, kind of the bigger pieces. And with that, I'm going to start with the mechanical projects. So right now, the top 4 projects that you're seeing on that slide, those are our ESCO projects. That started in 2023, so some of you were here, some of you weren't. But this year, we're going to finally finish these 4 ESCO projects. Those are the 4 that are remaining. We already had 2 others that completed. We have Highway, Justice Center, and the pet adoption. We're also doing replacements there. Yes.
ESCO projects.
Energy Conservation Company is what ESCO stands for.
Thank you.
This is where they guarantee savings, and the savings that they're guaranteeing is $7.5 million over 15 years. So is this helpful? We have based on electrical projects, we have generator and UPS replacements. UPS stands for Uninterrupted Power System. So we've got them at the Police Department, 2 projects, and 1 at the Justice Center, Juvenile Justice Center. We have got site work, so exterior work and site work. So out at last few years, we've been focusing on parking lots, but we've gotten most of them up to a good condition, but the Elections Authority, which I think a lot of us know, needs some help. But instead of just going in and resurfacing this property, we're going to take an evaluation, try to see if we can improve the traffic flow, particularly for absentee voting, making sure that we have a better flow in and out of the building, in and out of the parking lot. We're also going to be touching on ADA compliance, both for municipal court and for Elections Authority. We're also wanting to paint the building because we all know how tired it looks, but we're going to go ahead and invest in that as well. But we're also doing the parking lot out at our backup dispatch center too. Roof replacements. This is one that we have been catching up with all of our roofs. We thought we were really good until the storms hit last year. So it's already been a year. We had 3 hailstorms that came through that really took some devastation on several of our properties. Most of them are listed there that you can see. Other than that, we were planning on replacing the last portion of the roof at Juvenile, which we're completing now, and completely replacing the dispatch center roof, complete tear off and redo out there. This year we've got some furniture projects. So this is not as typical in any given year, but we do have a few. Every one of these furniture projects, these ones are to satisfy for a new position that was approved in the budget for 2025. Another new piece is that we traditionally have not been handling the chair replacement program. That's been traditionally from finance, but they went ahead and gave that to facilities. We're going through, and every request that we get, we're having somebody assess that chair, making sure that we're leveraging our warranty replacements, and then we're going to replace the chairs that we feel are deemed in a condition that are not worth saving. We've actually gotten 60 replacements, and 41 have been determined need to be replaced. So we have leveraged quite a bit of the warranty work. Executive, we're doing a lot of restoration efforts, you probably know, in and around here. Stained glass windows, I know they've been missing for a while, but we're waiting on the wood restoration that's happening in that area to complete before those repaired stained glass pieces come and be reinstalled. We also have window restoration. There's 3 windows that were removed in this building back when we had a cooling tower adjacent to the building and before the ADA door was put in place. We're now able to put those windows back in, so we're waiting for the product to arrive before we get that going. We also have exterior concrete stair replacement, so that was something that was on council agenda a meeting or so ago. So we have that one's going to take care of all of the walking paths in and around the site that are on the Jefferson side as well as the 2nd Street.
I'm just going to ask where the stained glass windows are.
Well,
I mean, where did they used to be?
Since you've been here, you haven't seen them.
No, I haven't.
There's the 3 windows right in the very front as you're going down those stairs.
Oh, okay.
Those traditionally have stained glass. In fact, that's the photograph that you're seeing up there is one of the stained glass windows. So, and then we also have the railings that are in the front and the side of the building that we're going to replace those as well. Circuit Court, that's another busy building. We have a clerk renovation you're going to be seeing a proposal for the design work. That's going to make way for 2 needed jury courtrooms. We also have the 3 elevators that are in that building. We need to upgrade the backbone of those because they're outdated and it's time. A lot of repairs are happening. But then we're also going to be embarking upon a future growth study. So where are we going to be able to go? Because we are maxed out our space in the courthouse, but of course we're not going to max out how many judges we'll have in the future. So we have to find space for that. That will encompass the prosecuting attorney as well as the public defender and the public admin. Justice Center, we'll have a closed session to talk a little more detail about that one, but we did move in February into phase 1, which is the kitchen and storage in one of the housing units. But we also have the demolition going on right now for phase 2, which is the majority of the 3rd floor, that encompasses the mental health and the substance abuse. And then later this year, you'll see something coming across for design work for the direct supervision. Firing range, that's a funded project by the FBI, but we're adding 20 lanes there. We're at target turning system, new berm material that will have ease for lead reclamation. We also have covered staging, and then we're going to have a PA system there. So that's solely for FBI, but the St. Charles Police can utilize that space as well. We're also assisting them with the berm material this year on our portion of the firing range. Then we also redid the target turning system. PD redid the target turning system last year, so we'll have a kind of a refresh on the firing range. Kinetic Park. So this is one where we've been helping out Ryan Graham and the Parks Department add another building, renovate the existing building, and now we're working on the phase 3, which is splash pad and more of the playground. But those are the projects. The day-to-day, in and out, repair, lights out. I was just hearing somebody say, hey, we got to talk about lights. We've got a lot of different things that we're working on for repairs and maintenance. So just to give a glimpse, in the last 12 months, we've had nearly 5,000 work orders. We've had over 10,000 hours of labor assigned to those work orders. We have actually, with the snow removal, we keep track of our snow. Every time they pick up a shovel or drive a plow truck, we're picking up those hours. And we had nearly 900 hours just for the snow events that we've had in this last snow season. So we're very busy on a day-to-day basis. This does not include our custodial basis, other than we have a deep cleaning situation that we might need to address. So this is really our HVAC, our general maintenance, our grounds, and our carpentry work. But in the last 3 months, we've actually incurred just about half of what we did in the last 12 months. So everything has dramatically gone up. And we've had 5,000 labor, 5,500 labor hours, and 2,600 work orders that were requested. So where have all those work orders generated? The majority of them are happening in the Justice Center. I'm sure that's not a surprise. It's a 24/7 operation and it needs some love, but it's usually inmates that are doing that kind of work. But the courthouse and the admin building are also second and third in line in terms of how much we do in those buildings. But this makes sense. They are our 3 largest buildings. Any questions?
Any questions from council?
No, good job.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You
I
are
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Such a good job, didn't have any questions.
Fantastic.
Anything else from the county executive?
No, sir.
Thank you. With that, it'll move us to the consent agenda. Any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
I would like,
Go ahead, Patty.
I would like, where is it? The Port Authority Board to be pulled off.
You want both of them or just the one
Just
with?
one, Mr. Kotraba.
I second
Just
that.
a separate vote on that.
Okay.
Second
Motion made in second.
I'd like to pull the register, or the election authority destruction of records off the agenda. Unless it's still down on the table, is it?
Are you looking at items removed from the consent agenda? Are you looking at that item?
What am I looking at? Hold on. Well, that's there, but then it's up again too. It's a register.
So we have withdrawn the one that's on the table. Since it's on the table, it's not actually off of there until you take it off. So remember, anything going to the consent agenda has to come through the county executive's office. So the previous one's no longer before the council as soon as you take it off the agenda. The only one that's on is the one that's on the consent agenda itself.
Right.
So you want to move the register record destruction request amended?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay.
Second.
So we have any other items?
Can I just talk, I would just ask, or say something about something? Do
you want to pull anything else off yet?
No.
Okay, can you hold for just a second? So we have 2 items with Port Authority and Register that have been requested to be removed and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, Mr. Baker.
Yeah, there's a couple things. First off, John, I appreciate you doing the change order for more concrete because the bids came in low. I continually drive around my district and see huge improvements in slab repair, and it looks great. We're doing a great job, or you're doing a great job. The circuit clerk, I do have a question about the subscription though. For this time, I mean, I'm sure there's a reason why we're using this sole source, but can someone explain why? What's the purpose? I mean,
Let's pull it off the agenda.
Yeah.
do I have to pull it off?
If you're going to ask questions about it, we need to pull it
Well, I'd
off.
like to pull off the 2 circuit clerk.
All right.
Sorry.
Second.
Motion and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion approved the remaining agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so the rest of the agenda is approved. If you'll hold on circuit clerk, let's go first for Patty with Port Authority.
I'm just want to recuse myself for Mr. Kotraba on the vote.
Okay, so with that, all
Can I
those
make a
in...
motion to put it back? Is that what you want me to do?
No. All those in favor on approving the Port Authority Board, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone who wants to recuse?
Aye.
Any noes? All right, so that's passed. Now let's go to your registrar. That's you, Joe.
Oh, on the recorded records, the request is somewhat vague. It doesn't have dates. It doesn't have exactly when Mr. Bart was in here. I was asking him questions about, are they empty ballots, are they written ballots, and then he was back and forth. And so all I'm requesting from the council is to give me, like, give 8 months or 6 months or whatever is reasonable. And I also believe there's been an FOI filed on it yesterday or Friday or today or something. And so I don't think there's any hurry on this. I'd like to just give it a little bit of time. And so we can have some folks just look through the records because of a lot of the things going on with our elections and a lot of things. Denny Hoskins is, he said that there were 18,000, was it 18,000 that he took off the voter rolls in this, was that what it was?
140,000.
In this region? Or is that the state?
In this region, you didn't say it, it was statewide.
Yeah, I think it's 18,000 in this region. So what I would like to know is how many of those he took off the voter rolls. It was in St. Charles County. I did talk to him on Thursday, and I'd
So,
like to,
hang on a second.
I'm sorry.
I appreciate where you are on elections, but what is that, with this, what's your request on?
I just want to hold on, table it, or just vote no for it, or whatever you want to do, but I just want 8 months, like, I just need a little bit of time. I don't think
So,
this is a hurry.
do you know what this is?
Mr. Chairman?
No, I don't, because he's not specific with what he's
So
requesting.
can we answer your question?
I suppose.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as you know, the consent agenda is things that are appropriate for consent that aren't controversial. We sent everything that we were asked to last time, found out at the last meeting that the 20 election is still controversial in the eyes of some people. Whether you agree or disagree with that, that means it's not a consent item. So we pulled the old one back, we sent a new one forward, because see, I have to sign these before we send them to you. If an ordinance, it goes to you all first, 2 readings, and then I get to look at it, decide whether to sign it. Consent agendas are for things that I'm okay with already and are not supposed to be, things that really require a whole deal of discussion. So what we've done is to take the 2020 election out. Everything else is the same, except for that. That was my understanding. That's the election that there's still some questions about. And quite frankly, we destroy those records. It disallows somebody to create a conspiracy theory that somehow we're wanting to get rid of those. So it's a consent item. I think the rest of it should not be controversial. Maybe, Mr. Breslin, if you think it is, fine. Tell us why, and you can table it, or I'll send you whatever isn't controversial. That's the idea of a consent.
I just wanted you to understand the 2020 election records are not part of this at all.
No,
They pulled that out.
and I appreciate that. I do appreciate that, but the only thing I would suggest is, what if there's a pattern? If there is a pattern from past elections and past elections, you want to see a pattern. And so, I could be wrong, 100% wrong, but the question is shouldn't someone have the opportunity to see if I'm wrong? And that's all I'm asking. There's no hurry on this. I don't know why. It doesn't have to be, we could just say, okay, let's, and I think Mr. Baker, I talked to him about it. If he said, well, okay, if you're going to do this, then have a solution. What is it going to be? What are you going to do? Just set on it? And I agree. Put an 8-month sunset on it, or 6 months, or whatever it is, just so we have complete understanding of what, if there's a pattern or not. And in crimes, not there's just a crime here, but in crimes or things that go on, there's patterns. And
So
that's all I'm asking.
These go back before the 2020 elections.
It goes to 17, doesn't it, Mike?
Yeah, here's the only thing I'm asking. So we just had Christine to talk about facilities. If you go over to the election authority, which I did this past week, and talk to Kurt about what they had there, it sounds like if I hear you correctly, you don't want to get rid of any old ballots. So if we don't get rid of any old ballots, then we're going to have to figure out where we're going to store all these ballots until somebody somewhere at some point goes back and wants to review them. If you want to review them, fine, but how far back do you want to keep these? Because it's my understanding that, if I understand the law correctly, and help me here, after 22 months, the election authority has the purview to be able to get rid of old ballots. Is that what I'm understanding? So
That's correct.
we're not touching anything since before the 2020 election. So you've got 3 election cycles. To your point, Joe, if you're talking about a pattern, you've got 3 there, plus you're going to have the one we're about to do. I mean, my request to you is, how much do you need before you get a pattern, and can we clear up some space?
Yeah, would it be fair to say that we can you cannot destruct the records no sooner than 12/12 of 25? And that's 8 months, or something.
But, I mean, do we have to keep the records that go all the way back to 17?
No, we would
is what I'm
normally-
asking for.
We would not have, in years past, we never had this conversation before because it wasn't necessary, but now it's necessary. Especially with all the leadership, the new leadership, especially Denny Hoskins, the President of the United States, all these people that are pointing out, they're having a big, on Wednesday, Denny Hoskins is having a ballot counting from 8 to 12 hearing about going to ballot counting, getting rid of these machines. So It's actually a
get it.
fact that people are looking into this. So all I'm asking
I
is,
get that.
there's no hurry. Can we just settle on it for 7 months, and then at that time, put the sunset on, and then he can do what he wants with them. Just because there was an FOI filed on this stuff, just
For
last
2020.
week. Well, I don't know if it's 220 or all just to see what the records is that he's trying to destroy. I think that's what it was. It was all the records. But here's the thing, Mike. If you look at his request, it's not specific. It's not specific to exactly what he's doing. Dates.
They're all listed here. They're listed on the consent agenda, every election that he's talking about. Every one of them
Okay,
are.
I would only ask what's the hurry. That's all. I mean, if
Joe,
you
it's
got-
5 years. I
Well,
don't
then-
think 5 years is a hurry.
Okay, but we didn't know what we know now.
All right, so does anyone else on the council have a comment on this? Yes?
I've been on the council for over 2 years, and we've been talking about the 2020 election. It's like I've said, it's like the Benghazi hearings. We keep talking about it, but nothing ever gets done. I mean, let's give it a year, let people legally, whatever they can do, view it, and let's be done with it.
But
I mean,
these records, my point is, we keep saying 2020. These are prior to 2020 elections. So,
yeah.
Then let's do it.
Does anyone else on the council feel like we need to keep these records for the next year? All right, so Mr. Brazel has asked for this to be tabled. Do I have a second? Seeing none. All those in favor of passing the registrar's record request, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes. Mr. Baker,
Yeah, just-
we're back to you with circuit clerk.
I just have a quick question, and I'm just curious, this Thomson Reuters, it's a sole source, I'm sure it's unique in what the services they provide. I'm just, for my own info, what is it? Why is it so unique, and why do we have to go, I mean, the internet doesn't provide this information?
Well, I won't say that anymore, but it's very disjointed if you do a general internet search. If you use Westlaw is the premier research tool for attorneys across the United States. So let's say that the judge is on a question and there is no Missouri law on it. He can look in, Westlaw literally gives a separate research number to every single legal principle, thousands and tens of thousands of them, if not hundreds of thousands. So he can go look what cases in what states have decided this and see if his general circumstances compare to that.
Here's just a thought too, and I assume a lot of the counties, St. Louis County, probably the St. Louis City, and other municipalities all have this service.
They do.
I mean, is there a way we can collectively, as a group,
Nope, they don't
negotiate
allow
better
that.
terms? Huh?
They don't allow that. We tried to do it back, 8-10 years ago.
Who doesn't allow it? Thomson Reuters?
Thomson Reuters, because they have the copyright of it.
Okay.
So we tried to just combine the prosecutor's office, the counselor's office, and the court, and they said no.
It's the same problem.
Is that a monopoly though?
Yeah, it's the same problem our libraries have. They're spending 10 times as much on e-books now, because you'd think, you buy a book and 100 people can read it. If you buy an e-book, only one person can read it. And every time somebody else wants to read it, you got to pay. It's kind of the same thing. The publishers have a
Yeah, you
kinda
get a
spot.
license per user.
So-
And for each lawyer or each judge user over the court, one of their clerks can also use it.
So we're kind of held hostage by Thomson Reuters then? I mean,
They
can. Yeah.
Thomson Reuters is a very powerful publishing company.
Okay, thank you.
Any other?
No.
Any?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. We've made it 1 hour and 10 minutes, and we passed the consent agenda. Congratulations. We're up to resolutions.
Resolution number 25-03, sponsored by Mike Elam. A resolution to implement the Missouri Blue Shield program to recognize communities dedicated to effective law enforcement and community safety, Whereas on March 5th, 2025, Governor Mike Kehoe announced the Missouri counties, cities, and towns can now apply for a Blue Shield designation, recognizing their commitment to enhancing public safety, strengthening support for law enforcement, and building sustainable public safety partnerships. And whereas the Blue Shield program, as outlined in Executive Order 25-03, is part of Governor Kehoe's Safer Missouri initiative announced on his first day of office, and whereas achieving the Blue Shield designation allows communities to access state grants for law enforcement training and equipment, and whereas well-trained professional law enforcement agencies are essential for the safety and security of Missouri's citizens, communities, and visitors, and whereas positive engagement between the community and law enforcement plays a critical role in reducing crime and fostering trust between residents and law enforcement, and whereas public safety is the responsibility of the citizens and their communities at large, not just sworn peace officers, and requires commitment from local leaders, and whereas community participation and accountability plays a significant role in reducing criminal activity within a community, and whereas a local government's commitment to enhancing public safety, fostering law enforcement support, and encouraging community partnerships related to public safety is worthy of support and recognition, and whereas receiving the Blue Shield designation will benefit the citizens of St. Charles County.
Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of St. Charles County, Missouri as follows. Section 1. The St. Charles County Council hereby declares and affirms its ongoing commitment to public safety, including a commitment to reduce violent crime within the St. Charles County in alignment with the Governor's Blue Shield program. Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Resolution 2503 passes. It goes along with Governor Kehoe's thing where he said it's going to be easier to be a cop in this state than it is a criminal. So I hope our law enforcement community can use this to their advantage. Resolution 2504.
Resolution 2504, sponsored by Mike Elam, a resolution stating the intent of St. Charles County, Missouri to issue bonds for certain capital expenditures. Whereas the St. Charles County Emergency Communication Department anticipates that there is a need to finance the purchase of radio equipment that is essential to the continued implementation, operation, ownership, and maintenance of the St. Charles County Emergency Radio Communication System. And whereas the anticipated funding source for the purchase of such necessary radio equipment shall be a bond issue, and whereas this resolution reflects the estimate for the radio equipment costs financed by the bond issue to be $16 million. And whereas this resolution authorizes reimbursement to the county for costs incurred prior to the final bond closing.
Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of St. Charles County, Missouri as follows. Section 1. The St. Charles County Council hereby resolves that St. Charles County, Missouri, the county, expects to make additional capital expenditures after the date of this resolution for the benefit of the county in connection with the purchase of radio equipment necessary to the continued implementation, operation, ownership, and maintenance of the St. Charles County Emergency Radio Communications System, the project, and the county intends to reimburse itself for such expenditures to the extent permitted by law, with the proceeds of tax-exempt obligations to be issued by the county, the obligations. Section 2. The St. Charles County Council further resolves that the maximum principal amount of obligations expected to be issued for the project is $16 million.
Any questions or comments about the resolution? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Resolution number 25-04, a resolution stating the intent of St. Charles County, Missouri to issue bonds for certain capital expenditures. Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Resolution 2504 passes. Resolution 2505.
Resolution number 2505, sponsored by Mike Elam. A resolution authorizing the non-binding projected tax rates of the county for the General Revenue Fund and for various special funds of and for the County of St. Charles, Missouri for the year 2025 in order to develop the notice of projected tax liability to accompany the assessor's notice of assessed value, all as mandated by Senate Bill 711, 2008.
Any questions or comments about this resolution? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Resolution number 2505, a resolution authorizing the non-binding projected tax rates of the county for the general revenue fund and for various special funds of and for the county of St. Charles, Missouri for the year 2025 in order to develop the notice of projected tax liability to accompany the assessor's notice of assessed value, all as mandated by Senate Bill 711, 2008.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilwoman York.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Resolution 2505 passes. Are we going to start with Dave all night? Is that how this is? Just kidding. We're on to bills for final passage. Obviously, we tabled 5369 earlier in the evening, so we're up to Bill 5370.
Bill number 5370, an ordinance vacating a platted utility easement at Crystal Hill Terrace.
Any questions or comments about this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5370, an ordinance vacating a platted utility easement at Crystal Hill Terrace. Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilwoman York.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Bill number 5370 passes. 5371.
Bill number 5371, an ordinance authorizing execution of documents for receipt of funds in the amount of $57,141.56 from the Secretary of State for a grant awarded to the Election Authority for an election efficiency grant to assist with election activities, systems and equipment maintenance, maintaining voter lists and polling place accessibility, and further amending Ordinance 24-106 by providing supplemental appropriations to the Election Services Fund budget.
Any questions or comments about this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5371, an ordinance authorizing execution of documents for receipt of funds in the amount of $57,141.56 from the Secretary of State for a grant awarded to the Election Authority for an election efficiency grant to assist with election activities, systems and equipment maintenance, maintaining voter lists and polling place accessibility, and further amending Ordinance 24-106 by providing supplemental appropriations to the Election Services Fund budget. Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Councilwoman York.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel.
No.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes. Bill 5371 passes. Bill 5372.
Bill number 5372, an ordinance authorizing the county executive or his designee to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development and the St. Charles County Department of Workforce and Business Development related to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, PY24 WIOA 25% Rapid Response Business Funds, contract number P09925 00089.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5372, an ordinance authorizing the county executive or his designee to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the Missouri Department of Higher Education and Workforce Development and the St. Charles County Department of Workforce and Business Development related to the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, PY24, WIOA 25% Rapid Response Business Funds, contract number P09925 00089. Councilwoman York.
Yes.
Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel.
Yes.
Councilman Hammond.
Yes.
Councilman Elam.
Yes.
Councilman Hollander.
Yes.
Bill number 5372 passes. That brings us to 5373.
Bill number 5373, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of understanding between the County of St. Charles on behalf of the Police Department and the United States Marshals Service regarding participation in the U.S. Marshals Service short-term joint operation.
Any questions or comments about this? Nice article in the Post-Dispatch about this earlier today. With that, call the roll, please.
Bill number 5373, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of understanding between the County of St. Charles on behalf of the Police Department and the United States Marshals Service regarding participation in the U.S. Marshals Service short-term joint operation. Councilman Baker.
Yes.
Councilman Swanson.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
5373 passes. The Sheriff's Department wants to do it too, so 5374.
Bill number 5374, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of understanding between the County of St. Charles on behalf of the Sheriff's Department and the United States Marshals Service regarding participation in the U.S. Marshals Service short-term joint operation.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5374, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a memorandum of understanding between the County of St. Charles on behalf of the Sheriff's Department and the United States Marshals Service regarding participation in the U.S. Marshals Service short-term joint operation. Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Final bill for final passage, 5375.
Bill number 5375, an ordinance amending Section 115.710 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri concerning the Personnel Administration Plan and amending the 2025 budget adopted by ordinance number 24-106 for positions within the St. Charles County Department of Community Development, Building and Code Enforcement Division, and Road and Bridge Highway Department.
Any questions or comments about this bill? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Bill number 5375, an ordinance amending Section 115.710 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri concerning the Personnel Administration Plan and amending the 2025 budget adopted by ordinance number 24-106 for positions within the St. Charles County Department of Community Development, Building and Code Enforcement Division, and Road and Bridge under the Highway Department. Councilman Brazel?
Yes.
Councilman Hammond?
Yes.
Councilman Elam?
Yes.
Councilman Hollander?
Yes.
Councilwoman York?
Yes.
Councilman Baker?
Yes.
Councilman Swanson?
Yes, ma'am.
Bill number 5375 passes. I'd like to thank Councilman Hammond, the administration, and Samantha and HR for all the work that went into that and all of you working together. Appreciate all the cooperation. That gets us to bills for introduction, starting with bill number 5376.
Bill number 5376, requested by Matthew Seed, sponsored by Mike Elam. An ordinance providing for amendment of ordinance 24-106 for a supplemental appropriation relating to the Local Violent Crime Prevention, LVCP, grant program funds and operation of the intergovernmental agreement between St. Charles County and the Missouri Department of Public Safety, Office of Homeland Security, approved by ordinance 24-100.
Any questions or comments about this bill? Seeing none, we'll move on to bill 5377.
Bill number 5377, requested by Amanda Brower, sponsored by Joe Brazel. An ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a temporary construction easement with the Wentzville Public School District for a bike walk, Phase 1.
Any questions or comments about this? Seeing none, that gets us to 5378.
Bill number 5378, requested by Steve Elman, sponsored by Mike Elam. An ordinance to name the St. Charles County Firearms Training Center located on Highway 94 South, the Sergeant John C. Bush Firearms Training Center, pursuant to Section 100.170 of the ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, to commemorate the dedication of John C. Bush, DSN 505, to the safety and well-being of all law enforcement officers in St. Charles County.
Councilwoman York.
Yes, I would like my name added to this as a sponsor and welcome any other council people too, if you don't mind, Mr. Elam.
So I wanted to open that up. Anybody who wants their name added to this bill, I would invite you to just let Claire know.
Yes, please.
And we can get your name added to this. I don't know if you want to say anything now or you want to wait till 2 weeks, but I'd like to at least remind people that this is the family that was here.
I'm trying to think, was there anybody, if there was anybody that was absent that night, we need to make sure they see that. Or if anybody wants to see it again, are we planning on showing it?
I sent it to Councilwoman York. Yes.
Okay,
So-
good.
Wonderful.
And Sergeant Bush's son Steve is here tonight, which we didn't even ask him to, but thank you very much for coming, Steve.
I would think add us all. I mean, is there anyone that wouldn't want to have their name on this?
Yeah, so we're gonna change this to council as a whole.
Mr. Chairman, I found out an interesting thing when I was researching this ordinance with Rory, which is when he was in the sheriff's office, all the guys had to buy their own guns. And he
No way.
was the officer who stepped forward and said, we need a budget for this. They need to all carry the same thing.
Growth of government.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to the Bush family, because they have a fundraiser every year, and they donate those funds to our police department, and always helping us get better. And just appreciate your commitment, appreciate your dad. So obviously, we'll make it official in 2 weeks, but thanks for being here. So that gets us to 5379.
Bill number 5379, requested by Kevin Killeen, sponsored by Mike Elam. An ordinance designating and recognizing the Greater St. Charles Convention and Visitors Bureau as the state fiscal year 2025 through 2027 representative destination marketing organization, DMO, for tourism in St. Charles County as required for participation in the Missouri Division of Tourism's cooperative marketing program for the state fiscal year 2025 through 2027 funding cycle.
Any questions or comments about this? Mr. Brazel?
Joanne, I was hoping if it'd be possible of me and whoever else is interested to come in and have the tourism center come in and have a brief meeting, and one in regard to the wine area, the wine district. We have been working with them. Our designee that's on the visitor center, Dan Tripp, we have been trying to get a website defined through them, and they say they're doing it, and I believe they're doing it, but nothing's ever happened. So we're just trying to get some motivation, and I think with this contract up on the table is maybe a time for us to get a little bit of motivation for us to get a little more done down in the wine district.
Yes, sir.
Didn't their attorney tell them they couldn't use it for a website, it had to be for a building? And didn't we ask somebody to try to amend
That's the
that?
Sports Commission.
Try to amend that in Jeff City?
So that was the Sports Commission. We had that, Wendy Hausman carried that for us last year, but
Oh, okay.
it,
Oh, so-
surprisingly enough, it died in the Senate.
It did die.
Stop me if you've heard that
All
before.
right. So they're trying to, Joe, they're trying to get it, this city organization to do it for them then, is that right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, the St. Charles
Okay,
Convention
okay,
Center.
that's fine.
Remember, we've been dealing with it.
No, that's good.
Once it gets renewed every 4 years, right, Joanne?
I think it's 5, but
5
close
years,
to
yeah.
that, yeah.
And it comes before us, and sometimes we talk to them and try to get a little bit more from the county, for the county, you know what I'm saying, Steve? And so we just want to say, hey, can you help us a little bit more in the wine district? Because the wineries and stuff, or the bed and breakfasts and stuff out there, they're all involved. So we just want see if we can get a little more traction.
Aren't we on their website now?
They're working on something, and I was just brought to my attention that they haven't, they're hopefully working with
I
us,
mean,
but we
the
want a
money
little
we're
more
giving them, I
motivation.
thought that's what we're giving them, so they promote the wine country along with Main Street.
Well, exactly, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So it just be for a brief
We'll talk to
meeting.
them and find out what's going
Yeah,
on.
right, yeah.
Well, and just so we're clear, the website that Bill Shaw and the group down there is trying to get done, we were trying to see if the Regional Sports Commission, the St. Charles County Sports Commission, would help us with that. And Steve's point is the way the wording for that is, they weren't allowed to use those funds because I believe they get about $5 million a year. And when they were a part owner of the convention center, they would use a lot of those funds for things with the convention center because it's a physical building. But now the city bought them out, so they have these funds and they were looking for projects, and we had submitted some projects. But Wendy Hausman carried the bill for us in the House last year to try and amend the permissions of what they could use their funds for. It doesn't have to just be a capital project. Like they're looking at the sports complex out in Lake St. Louis or whatever right now. But that didn't get passed last year. Hopefully we can get that passed this year. And then they were going to use some of those funds to do a robust website to help promote not just the wineries, but St. Charles County as a whole. So that's what all of that is all together. So with that, we'll move on to Bill 5380.
Bill number 5380, requested by Samantha Shadrick, sponsored by Mike Elam. An ordinance amending the Personnel Administration Program, PAP, Section 115.710, pay grade assignments, and amending the 2025 budget adopted by ordinance number 24-106 to reclassify 3 positions in the Parks and Recreation Department and create a new position in the Public Health Department, Division of Humane Services.
Any questions or comments about this bill? Seeing none, on our tabled bill, is there any action that needs to happen?
Yeah, we need to go ahead and remove that since it was covered under Bill 5380.
So motion to pull that off. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Hammond, did you wish to withdraw that bill?
Yeah.
So Mr. Hammond has a motion to withdraw, and I believe you need 3 to concur.
Second.
I concur.
I concur.
So there's our 3 concurs on top of that. So with that, Bill 5361 has been withdrawn. Check with me after this, and we'll talk about that. You have that look on your face that said, I don't think that's right. So I know that face because my wife uses it a lot. So with that, we'll do any announcements or miscellaneous. Everybody's ready to roll. I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. We're dismissed.
I don't know who said, I'm not sure who seconded.